Welcome back to Scovid Rewind. In this video, we'll be exploring one of the horror movie from 2016 titled Train to Busan. Before we begin, I hope you're having an amazing day. Grab your favorite snack, sit back, and enjoy the recap. Let's dive straight into the story.
아이고, 에이. 아이고, 참.
Sok-woo is the kind of man who has spent so much time climbing the corporate ladder that he barely notices how much of his family life has slipped through the cracks. He's a successful fund manager in Seoul, always answering phone calls, always thinking about work, and almost always too busy for the one person who wants nothing more than his attention, his young daughter, Suan. It's her birthday, and instead of another expensive gift, she has only one wish. She wants to spend the day with her mother in Busan. Feeling guilty after realizing how absent he's become, Sok-woo finally agrees to take her on the early morning KTX train. It seems like a simple father-daughter trip, the kind that might finally help repair their strained relationship. If only they had left a little earlier. The train fills with every kind of passenger imaginable. A high school baseball team heads to an away game, laughing and teasing one another. A cheerful young player quietly admires Jin-hee, the team's supportive cheerleader. Nearby sits a pregnant woman named Song-kyung and her husband Sang-hwa, a massive, intimidating-looking man whose gentle personality couldn't be more different from his appearance. Business travelers settle into their seats, elderly sisters begin their journey together, and among them all is Yeon-suk, a wealthy executive whose polished appearance hides an incredibly selfish nature. Everything feels ordinary. Then, just seconds before the train departs, a frightened young woman slips aboard unnoticed. She's bleeding. Nobody realizes it yet, but she's already infected. As the train accelerates away from Seoul, the woman suddenly collapses. Railway staff rush over, believing she's injured or suffering a seizure. Moments later, she violently transforms into something no one can explain. Her body twists unnaturally, her eyes glaze over, and she attacks the nearest person without hesitation. Within minutes, panic erupts. Every victim becomes another monster. The infection spreads through the train faster than anyone can process what's happening. Passengers scream, sprint through the aisles, and slam doors shut behind them. The infected move with terrifying speed, throwing themselves at anything alive with relentless aggression. What began as a routine train ride instantly becomes a desperate fight for survival. Separated by several train cars, Sok-woo and Suan narrowly escape the initial outbreak. They quickly join forces with Sang-hwa, Song-kyung, the young baseball player Yong-guk, Jin-hee, and a handful of other survivors who manage to barricade themselves behind sealed train doors. At first, Sok-woo thinks only about protecting himself and his daughter. When another passenger begs for help, his instinct is to keep the doors closed. Sang-hwa immediately calls him out. Unlike Sok-woo, Sang-hwa never hesitates to risk himself for complete strangers. Time and time again, he charges directly into danger, using nothing but his fists and unbelievable determination to protect everyone around him. It's impossible not to admire him. Meanwhile, news reports begin filtering through passengers' phones. Riots are breaking out across South Korea. Entire cities are collapsing. Emergency broadcasts insist authorities have the situation under control, but every update paints a darker picture than the last. The train eventually stops at Daejeon Station after officials announce that the military has secured the area. Hope finally returns. For about 30 seconds, the survivors step off the train expecting rescue, only to discover the station completely overrun. Soldiers have already been infected, and the moment they attack, the station erupts into absolute chaos. Everyone runs back toward the train, barely escaping with their lives. Now they understand the horrifying truth. Nowhere is safe. The only remaining destination is Busan, where military forces are reportedly still holding the line. Getting there won't be easy. At one point, Suk-woo, Sang-hwa, and Yong-guk become separated from the others after being trapped in another section of the train. To reunite with their families, they must fight through multiple train cars packed shoulder to shoulder with infected passengers. The sequence is one of the film's greatest moments. The three men improvise weapons from whatever they can find. Sang-hwa punches zombies with enough force to send them flying. Suk-woo gradually stops thinking only of himself and starts risking his own life for others. Yong-guk, despite being terrified, refuses to abandon the people he cares about. Together they battle through carriage after carriage, timing every movement carefully. They soon discover something unexpected. The infected become almost completely blind whenever the train enters dark tunnels. Using the darkness to their advantage, they quietly sneak through several train cars filled with monsters, holding their breath as dozens of infected stand only inches away. The tension is unbearable. After an exhausting struggle, the survivors finally reunite with the others. But instead of being welcomed, they're met with fear. Yeon-suk convinces many of the uninfected passengers that Suk-woo's group must already be infected, simply because they've been exposed longer than everyone else. Without evidence, panic takes over. The frightened passengers force the exhausted survivors into another train car and lock the door behind them. The real danger, it turns out, isn't always the zombies. Sometimes it's ordinary people. Yeon-suk's selfish decisions repeatedly place everyone else in danger. Time after time, he sacrifices innocent people simply to improve his own chances of surviving. His cowardice eventually costs countless lives. Then comes one of the film's most heartbreaking moments. As zombies break into their carriage, Sang-hwa holds them back alone so everyone else can escape. Knowing he has no chance of surviving, he uses every last ounce of strength to keep the infected from reaching his pregnant wife and the others. His sacrifice gives them just enough time. He dies exactly as he lived, protecting people who couldn't protect themselves. It's one of those scenes that leaves a lump in your throat. Loss follows loss. The elderly sisters are separated forever. Members of the baseball team fall one after another. Jin-hee is devastated by Yong-guk's fate and ultimately chooses not to continue living without him, embracing the infected rather than abandoning him. Every victory feels temporary. Every train car hides another tragedy. By now, Suk-woo has changed completely. The cold businessman who once ignored everyone around him has become someone willing to risk everything for complete strangers. He finally understands the lesson Soo-an has quietly been teaching him all along. Kindness matters. Compassion matters. Looking after one another matters. As the train approaches Busan, Yeon-suk survives long enough to create one final disaster. After becoming infected, he attacks Suk-woo during a desperate struggle aboard the moving train. Suk-woo manages to save Soo-an and Song-kyung, but not before receiving a bite himself. He knows exactly what it means. There isn't much time left. Rather than allow himself to turn and endanger his daughter, Suk-woo says goodbye. As he prepares to sacrifice himself, memories of Soo-an as a baby flash through his mind, particularly the day she was born. For the first time in years, work isn't occupying his thoughts, his daughter is. With tears in his eyes, he steps off the speeding train before the infection can fully take over. It's a devastating ending for a man who finally became the father he always should have been. The train eventually reaches Busan, carrying only 2 survivors, Soo-an and the pregnant Song-kyung. As they slowly walk through a railway tunnel, soldiers stationed ahead mistake them for infected and prepare to open fire. Then they hear something unexpected. Soo-an begins singing the song she had practiced for her father earlier in the film, the very performance he had missed because of work. The soldiers immediately realize they are human. They lower their weapons. The 2 survivors are finally rescued. Thank you for watching. If you are just new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe for more movie recaps.